Baba, Homi Jahangir Baba, we call. Okay, so these two are the people who like thought there should be an organization. There should be more people who do space science, who build rockets, who build satellites. So when they thought of this, there should be a place where they have to start, right? Like, for example, if you think you have to start a company, if you want to start a shop, there should be a place. So how do you select the place, right? Like that for ISRO, for these two people, they thought it would be good if it is started at a place called or on the magnetic equator. You all can explore it later. We're just letting you know there is something called as magnetic equator, which is actually the ideal spot to launch the rockets. Okay. Now, when they were checking where is this magnetic equator, is there any places that fall in on this magnetic equator? They found one place. Okay. If you all can see, they found one place over here in your in Kerala. Okay, it's called as Tumba. Okay, they were like going across this whole Kerala region, because if you look at it, I'm gonna go back. Where is the magnetic equator? It is almost here. If you look at it, it is also passing through Sri Lanka. So if you draw a line, straight line from here, I think this Anuradhapura over this region, this is where the magnetic equator lies. So, and also whenever if you want to launch rocket, it is mostly chosen near the water bodies. So here again, there is water bodies. So they selected this region, but they should also like build something, right? There should be a place where everyone sit and work, do the research, start building the rocket and all of it. So one day, these two like people, Dr. Sarabhai and everyone were like walking around in that area to find where can we build this ISRO, where can we start, right? They found this church. Okay, they found this church over there, and they were like, okay, this could be the right spot, because this was the only building in that whole area, like building built of stones. Otherwise, this was a whole, this area, the Tumba in Kerala, is the place where fishermen live, like people who do the fishing, right? They used to live. So their houses used to be small, but there was only one like proper structure or building, which was nothing but the church. So what they went and did was they went to the church, spoke to people over there and requested, we want this place because we want to build the space program from here. So we need this place to like starting to do the research, build the rockets and launch the rockets from here, right? From the beach. That's how it all started. And the church people happily gave the place. Okay, so that's when the church became the place for our scientists to start building the rockets, test it on the beach and all of that, to an extent that after several years they also built the rockets and started launching them. This is how the whole Indian space program started. Okay. To go further again, what was the mission and vision? Because any space program or anyone start anything, you should have a goal, right? That I want to do this, I want to achieve this. So what was the vision and mission for ISRO? Particularly the founder was very simple. He just wanted to use space technology to help people. It's very simple, right? He just wanted to build rockets and satellites in order to help the people of India and other nearby countries through the technology. Okay, so today, if you look at it with that vision and mission that he started today, the satellites that are launched by ISRO are helping the common people by knowing the weather. For fishermen also, it is helping to know where exactly the fishes are, and lot of several ways that ISRO is helping the common people. Okay, so to go further, Indian space program, that is ISRO had, when they started, they had three goals or three different domains. They had satellites was one domain, rockets is one domain, and applications, as in how are you going to use the satellite data right? For example, you launch a satellite. Satellite is collecting information. It is giving back to Earth. Now, how will you use that data, right? So that whole thing comes under space application. So these were the three domains that ISRO was working on when they started. And just showing you a few pictures of the first rocket, I could say, called Nike Apache. And this was built and launched in India, but with the help of NASA, okay, the help of USA. Next, by learning from them, by learning from US, we started building our own rockets, and these are called as sounding rockets. Even today, you go to this Tumba region, you see them getting launched once in a month. Okay, so these are called sounding rocket. To know about the weather, we used to launch the sounding rockets, or everyone launches the sounding rocket in order to know about the weather, right? Because, like, let's say, if you have to know normal weather within whatever we are, it is totally easy. But how would you know what is at a certain height? You wanted something to go over there and then get us the data, right? So that is when these sounding rockets were designed and launched, and we used to know so much information about the upper atmosphere and all of those. Okay, and the sounding rocket over here, the orange color one, is called as Rohini, and this was designed and built by Indian scientists after learning from this particular rocket. Okay, then what happened? A lot of things happened, but before that, after 1962, when they started designing like rockets and learning to build and all of it, they started doing a lot of other things, because an organization should grow, right? You can't launch small rockets. Your objective should be launching the satellites to space, because that is what Dr. Vikram Sarabhai wanted. So these are all different centers which were started. Okay, different projects that were started. For example, in 1975, satellite instructional television experiment, and as in first time in India, how to use TV in big number was a project. Like, that was one of the project, to make sure every village has TV, and every people in that village can watch some content, educational content, so that they can educate the whole country, right? That was the mission in the year 1975. And then several other centers also came into picture. So this was what I was telling you. It was a mission where every mission was to keep TV in every villages, so that everyone could watch the TV and learn from them, right? There were a lot of educational programs that they were showing. So like this, they put so many TVs in every village. So there was like a huge program. Further, they started, building bigger satellites and the bigger rockets, which we will explore in this particular one. The first rocket I told you, Rohini, is a sounding rocket. Okay, was designed and built and again launched in India. Then the next one comes SLV-3. Okay, satellite launch vehicle. So as soon as sounding rocket was successful and they knew how to build it, so now they had to build a little bigger one. Okay, so if you look at the size also, here it is very small compared to the size of the tree, but here you can look, SLV was slightly bigger than Rohini. Okay, so SLV means satellite launch vehicle. Okay, we will talk about it in the coming slides, but just wanted to tell you, I said about Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, right? He was the first person to like start ISRO and tell everyone what should they do and all of it. So after him, there were many chairmen, okay, like head of the program. And now it is Shri S. Somanath. He is the present chairman of ISRO. Just wanted to share, each one of them have led ISRO and like took it to this big, recognition level, I could say. And these are the different centers of ISRO today. Like, sometime back I was telling you, how ISRO was started near one beach, by taking a church, right? And today ISRO has these many centers, and just in Bangalore, the place where I am, these many centers are there. And then there is one in Mumbai, and then if you see Thiruvananthapuram, there are many, Sriharikota, Tirupati, Hyderabad, right? These are different centers of ISRO across the country. As in, every center will do different tasks. Okay. For example, even if you have to say rocket, building a rocket is not just one task, it's a lot of things. One is you need to design the rocket. So there is one set of place where people keep designing the rocket. Then you need to know what fuel you need to use, which fuel to use, which engine to use, test the engines. So that has to be done in one place. And then what electronic components you're going to use it in the rocket, that has to be done in a different place. Now all this together brought to one place where they start assembling and you launch. So launching is done in one place. Now, similarly for a satellite, if you have to build a satellite is built at one place, okay? And then it is tested in another place. And then it is taken to the same place where they launch it from. Once you launch, you need to keep tracking. So there is another center just for tracking where the satellite is going, what data it is sending. If you have to send the data, how will you send? All that is taken care by another center. Okay. And then it starts giving you the data. For example, one of the satellites' work is to take the picture. Okay. Now it takes picture and it keeps sending. So there will be another center where set of scientists will take that data and visualize, okay, what is in this photo, right? And then they update on the website. So that's another center. Like that, all these are different centers for different tasks. Okay, so I will quickly run through few of the centers, not all of them, but few of them. Okay. If you look at it, this is Vikram Sarabhai Space Center. Remember the church I told you? Church is where it started, but today, this is the building that they have built where all the scientists sit and do the research and building of rockets and experiments and all of that. Okay. So mostly at Vikram Sarabhai, they designed the rocket and build it over there. And then URM Space Center is in Bangalore. Here is where the satellites are designed, or they do the research on satellites. They build the satellites over here. And then comes Satish Dhawan Space Center. I was telling you, you need a place to launch the rocket, right? So this is one of the place where we launch our bigger rockets, okay? And this is where you keep tracking. For example, during the launch, you have to know where the satellite is going. So we call it mission control. So this mission control center is again in Sriharikota. And then there is different type of propulsion system we use in our rockets. One of them is liquid propulsion. Another one is solid. Another one is cryogenic. So to do the research on all of this, there are different centers. Okay, these are the two centers. And then this is where you test the engines. Okay, this is another place in Mahendragiri where you see they're testing the engines, this whole building, because if anything happens, there should be no people around. And that's why they don't do it in the city. They do it in the outskirts. Okay, so this is where they test the engines. And then this is Space Application Center. Like I was telling you, once you have the satellite data, what would you do? How are you going to use it, right? How are you going to use that satellite data? That is all taken care by the Space Application Center. For example, like it is taking record of the weather. Okay, it is raining here. It is
okay. Honey. Yeah, what's this?
Yeah. Okay. So if you look at it, they tell where the clouds are, where is it raining, where is it going to be heavy hurricanes, or all of these things will be shared. Where is going to be hot during the summer, And at the same time, what is happening to the river? For example, if you look at it, the river, sometimes, the water in the river gets dried. So you will keep looking at the water bodies. At the same time, the crops, what is happening to the crop? Are the crop growing, or are they getting dry? All this information is captured by satellite and is given. And this particular center called Space Application Center, SAC, takes care of the data and gives the information to everyone. And then this is another center. And then we have ISRO telemetry. This is like a really important one, which I wanted to tell you all. So I was telling you, if you have to communicate with a satellite, right? Like there is a satellite in space and you want satellite to take some information and follow that instruction. So this is what you use. These antennas or the telescopes are the one which you use to send the information to satellites. And also when they are orbiting, you have to collect the information. So that is also done by these center, ISRO telemetry, tracking and command. Okay, and this is in Bangalore. Then comes master control facility. This is another center. Then laboratory of electro-optic system. In our satellites, we use a lot of optical systems. For example, if there is a camera which is taking picture, that camera uses lens, right? And those research on the lens development is all done by this particular center. And then we have National Remote Sensing Center in Hyderabad, where again there are so many remote sensing satellite today of India, which is in space. So it keeps giving data, and this particular center and the scientists over here will keep doing the research on that. This is another institute, Indian Institute of Remote Sensing. This is Physical Research Laboratory that I told you long back. This is where the whole ISRO started. Okay. And then we have Solar Observatory in Udaipur, where it's just to study about sun. And this is another important thing which students would have to know. ISRO also has a college, its own college, for students like to do their engineering and masters, and it's called as Indian Institute of Science or Space Science Technology, IIST. And this is also in Trivandrum, where students go here. It is very difficult to get the seat here. Okay, it's very, very, very difficult to get the seat here. Once you get the seat, you study very well, then they directly take you into the job for ISRO. Okay, so that's what IISC is. And then this is another body of ISRO called Antrix Corporation Limited. And then this is newly launched another part of ISRO called New Space India Limited, which actually takes care of the business part of it. For example, there is a country, another country, okay? Consider Sri Lanka itself. After 2 years, Sri Lanka wants to launch a satellite. You have built the satellite. So if you want to build, launch the satellite, then you have to reach out to NSIL, where they will see what satellite you have built. They will tell you how much it will cost, and you have to pay them. And then the ISRO would launch, okay? So that's how NSIL works. It works in collaboration with so many countries, so many companies, and all of that. And then this is another very famous, or let's say favorite part of ISRO for so many people, including mine, because this is again very new. It's called as Human Space Flight Center. How many of you have heard astronauts? Can everyone respond me with emoji? Yes, astronauts going to space. Astronauts going to space. Can you all give me a thumbs up if you all have heard of it? Use the reaction symbol. Yes, I see few of you raising the hand, giving me a thumbs up. Right, very good. So few of you must have heard the astronauts go to space, right? They go on a particular rocket and then they do the experiment and come back. Now, this is another program of ISRO wherein they are working on building this whole module. You can see the behind one, the orange one. There, astronauts will sit and this will be launched to space, and astronauts can go to space and do the experiments and come back. It is still under development, but it is going to happen soon that we will have this human space flight program which is also called as Gaganyaan. I'll be talking more in the coming slides. Okay. And this is another part, which is again like supporting one called InSpace. If anyone wants to collaborate with ISRO, you got to talk to InSpace as well. Okay. So milestone of ISRO, there are a lot of things that were achieved by ISRO, one after the other, slowly, right? Starting from 1962 when they established INCOSPAR, and in 1963, within like 1 year, the first rocket, Nike Apache, was launched from India. Within 1 year, our scientists learned how to build, and in fact, they had started researching and all of it before 1962 itself. But when they started INCOSPAR with the place, they started building and launching. Okay. In 1965, another center was started. 67, satellite telecommunication Earth station was set up. And then in 1967, India's first rocket was launched. Okay. And then in 1975, this TV project was tried. The same year, 1975, India's first satellite was also launched. Same year. India's first satellite was launched in 1975. Okay. So it took so many years to launch because it takes so much of time, because it's every scientist was new and they have to do research, they have to build, they have to test, and then launch, right? So, and then in 1980, the first rocket, like satellite launch vehicle, was ready. SLV-3 was successfully tested, and they had launched the satellite on that rocket. So these are all like different achievements that ISRO has done throughout the program. Okay, so this is another part of ISRO. ISRO launches rockets, and these are different rockets that ISRO has developed. One is the sounding rocket, which I had told you, then this SLV, and then there is something called as ASLV, then there is something called PSLV, and these two are called GSLVs. And the last one is called RLVTD. So we will explore a little bit about all of them. And once we finish these rockets, we will take a break and take any questions from all of you, okay? So this, as I said, the Nike Apache was launched to, see if we can, how it works and all of it. And then comes Rohini. These are the different versions of sounding rocket that was developed by ISRO. Okay, this was the first one. And then 1969, they did another model, RH100. RH means Rohini, yeah? Rohini 100, 125, 200. These are the different like series of rockets that were designed, particularly a sounding rocket, okay? And then comes, this is the satellite launch vehicle. This could launch the satellite to space. And this was completely designed by Indian scientists, built by Indian engineers, and was launched from India itself. Okay, this is satellite launch vehicle, our first satellite launch, first rocket, I could say. This is the second type of bigger rockets again. It's called as ASLV. Remember, I told you ASLV. This is called Augmented Satellite Launch Vehicle. Little powerful than our SLV-3. Okay, this is how it used to look. You can see how big it is. There are people standing, right? So you can see how big it is. Then comes the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle. This is another rocket. You can see this rocket getting launched. It's also called as workhorse because most of the satellites today are launched on this particular rocket, even today. Okay, so what does this Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle do? It launches this satellite to a particular orbit. It can carry a particular weight as well. It is not like it can carry how much ever weight you want. No. So the payload capacity means a rocket can carry up to 1,850 kg, right, to sun synchronous, as in to the polar orbit. Whereas the lift-off mass, when it has fuel in it just before getting launched, it will be 320 tons. Okay, so that's how heavy. 1 ton is 1,000 kg. Okay, students, 1 ton is 1000 kg. Like that, 320 tons is the weight of this rocket just before the launch. Okay, and then this is the synchronous satellite launch vehicle, GSLV. Okay, and again, this is even more powerful. This is the powerful rocket that ISRO has. Okay, what can it do? The lift of mass is 640 tons, and it has payload capacity of 4 to 8 tons. Anywhere between 4 to 8 tons it can carry. Okay, as in 8,000 kg. One elephant sometimes is somewhere around 200 to 300, sorry, 2,000 to 3,000 kgs. 2 ton to 3 ton is the big elephant's weight, the biggest elephants. Like that, you can probably take 3 elephants in this rocket. Okay, as a payload, as in putting it over here. All right, and in fact, recently this GSLV got a new name called as Launch Vehicle LMV. You know, so LMV is the because GSLV Mark 3. You know, there are two versions. You can see here it's written MK3. GSLV Mark 1 was there, 2 was there, 3 was there. So GSLV Mark 3, which we are using today, is called as LMV. It has got a new name. Okay, next which I wanted to tell you all was Gaganyaan mission. What is Gaganyaan mission? Is to take people to space. Okay, like astronauts to space from India, because today if we have to go to space, if we have to send anyone to space, we have to either go to US and ask someone there, like either Elon Musk or different companies, or you have to go to Russia. But this particular project is working in such a way that we don't have to ask anyone. Like we can launch or we can send them on a rocket from India itself, right? So that is the project. They're using the same, LMV rocket, but slightly altering it like this. So they'll have this crew model, service model, and together it's called as orbital module. And this whole orbital module is going to sit on top of this LMV. You can see this, you can see the difference, how this LMV is, and how it gets changed to this particular mission, Gaganyaan mission. Okay, which means this rocket can send satellites. At the same time, with small changes, it can send humans to space as well. Okay, and this is our future rocket called as RLV, reusable launch vehicle, which is under development. What will it do is, this is a rocket. If you launch it, only the upper part could go and it can land back and you can use it again. If you see, this part could be reused, whereas the lower part could in the future probably they would want to land it back. But I hope all of you understood what is this reusable launch vehicle. It looks like this, where you launch it, only the upper part, you see this upper part which looks like a plane, will go to certain height to space, and it can come and land back on the water, which can be taken back by our ships and all of that. Okay, so this is again the future rocket, and here is ISRO spaceport. Like I was telling you, first set of rockets were launched from Kerala, but if you look at it, our spaceport currently is here in Sriharikota. Okay, it's called Sriharikota. If you zoom in, it's a small island. It's a small island which we have in this particular place where we launch the rockets from. Okay, and this is the spaceport. It's called as Satish Dhawan Space Center, and this is where the rockets are assembled inside these buildings, and satellite will be in this top part, as in the 4th stage. and then they will move it away from the launch building, and then they will launch it. Okay. So these are the current projects that we have about ISRO. I'm just recalling RLV you heard, Gaganyaan mission also you heard, and something that I didn't tell you is small satellite launch vehicle. Today, the satellites are becoming smaller and smaller. So you don't need like a big rocket. So to launch that small rockets, you need a small rocket. And this is small satellite launch vehicle. Okay, it looks like this. So let's take a small break here. Probably, Banu, you have to tell how many minutes break you want us to take, and then we will continue with the next part. Banu, can you hear us?
Yes, yes, we can go for the break now.
Yeah. So when do we come back?
From 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Great. That would be great. So students, stay back. Do not go anywhere. We'll meet back in just 5 minutes. Okay. Meanwhile, if anyone has any questions, you can raise your hand, or you can also put it in the chat, and I will try to answer them. All right, so we have few questions. I'm gonna take those questions until everyone is back. So there's a first question asking, do you work for ISRO? From Yakub. Yakub, I don't work for ISRO, but I'm gonna tell you something at the end. I work with ISRO, so yes, I'll tell you how we work with ISRO. And then there's another question by Fatima. How much does it cost to launch a rocket? Another same question I have, how much capital is required for a simple rocket? So it totally depends on where you are, what you want to build, or like how high you want to go. If you want to build something like a toy rocket, I'm guessing it will not cost you a lot. Okay. Um, I think IOAS was planning to launch to do this rocketry workshop. I'm guessing they will do it soon and all of you will join. It doesn't cost you too much to launch a small model of a rocket to try or to know how a rocket works. But if you want to launch like a bigger one than the original one, which can actually take satellites to space, then it costs a lot. I can't give you a number. I'm guessing it would be in millions of dollars. Okay. Then we have few more questions. What is the purpose of RLV? I mean, shuttles were used for contact with space station. Likewise, very good question. So one of the reason why they're developing this particular RLV is that to conduct the experiments, you don't have to like go. See, the whole purpose of reusable launch vehicles is to kind of save some kind of materials at the indirectly the cost. Okay, so this RLVs are is for the same. At the same time, in ISRO is also planning to launch. It's going to take some time, but they're also going to launch ISRO's like as in space station. So at that time, this would be used. So like you said, it will be used for all these purposes. Okay. Then we have another question, how many satellites has India launched? I don't have an exact number, but I can say there are many satellites. There was a time when at one go, as in at a time, there were so many satellites that were launched. And when you say India, whose satellite is something that would come into picture? Is it ISRO satellite or someone else's satellite that ISRO launched from India? Or is it the startups satellites which is launched by India? So the number keeps changing based on whose exact satellites are there. And then there's another question. Have one problem. How many satellites has India? Okay, the same question. And then there's another question. Are there any international space programs in India for Sri Lankan students? Are there actually ISRO does something called as Unnati, okay, and it is for students who are in college who can like apply and take part in that program, and that program is all about teaching the students to build their own satellite. It's called as Unnati. You can go have a look at it and probably apply whenever they open the application. But there are a lot of criteria, you may have to fulfill those criteria. Okay. What sort of technology is used in satellites to grab information about crops and it changes? The same technology used to inform about the weather. Exactly. So satellites, again, when it comes to satellites, there are different types of satellites, right? There are satellites which are just collecting the data like pressure, temperature, and all of it. At the same time, there are different type of satellites which are taking the pictures. Okay, so based on different type of satellites, the data that you get is different. Okay, so that's how for the crop it is more when you say crop, I'm going to give you one example at the end, probably that will help you. Then there's another question, does India has a plan to send a rover or something to Mars? Yes, there is a plan. Dinuga, I'm going to tell that the coming slide, so you might want to wait and listen. Has India launched a rover to the moon? Yes, ISRO did launch a rover to the moon, which again I will explain. So I think I've answered all the questions that I've got here in the chat. let's continue with the session, and then you can ask me next set of questions as well. Okay. So I was telling you about the current projects, particularly the launch vehicles. Now, if you have to go forward and know what is with satellites, okay? So satellites, the Aryabhatta is our first satellite. This is the first satellite that was built in India by Indian scientists. But it was not launched in India. It was launched from Russia on Russian rocket. Similarly, the second satellite was called Bhaskara. Bhaskara satellite was also built, designed and built here in India, but was launched from Russia. Okay. Now, Rohini 1 was the first satellite of India, which was built in India by Indian scientists and launched in India on an Indian rocket. Okay, so Rohini is famous for that. So these are the different, like at least the first set of satellites. And then we have communication satellite, and particularly this Apple was the first communication satellite that was launched by ISRO, which we use it for various purposes. Like you all know how our satellites used for communication purpose, right? So in Intelsat, InSat, GSat, these are different satellites, different set of satellites that are used for communication purpose. And these are remote sensing satellites, Indian remote sensing satellites, IRS series. If you look at it, IRS 1A, 1B, which is launched in 1988. This is for remote sensing, as in to know more about India itself. Okay. So, and then there is IRS P2, P3, 1C. These are all like series of satellites that were launched to know more about the Earth. Okay, then there is ResourceSat, which was launched just to know more about the resources that we have here in India. Then there is Cartosat, Cartosat 2, then so many. Okay, so many remote sensing satellites we have launched, as in ISRO has launched from India. Just to give you an idea, these are a few of the applications. Why do we use this remote sensing? One is for agriculture, disaster management, forestry, water resources, I told you, and then rural development, land use, land cover, soil, earth and climate, to know about the climate, to know about urban infrastructure, like how urban cities are growing, right? What all facilities do we need? All this is provided by these remote sensing satellite called ResourceSat, InSat, Cartosat, all these satellites. Okay, and then comes another set of, actually here I didn't add, there are a lot of navigational satellites as well, which are used for navigation purpose. We all use Google Maps, right? And this Google Map is run by a particular set of satellites by US. But in India, we have our own navigational satellites, our own navigation, platform, Navic and all of those. So that is about it. And then these are few outer space missions, as in Astrosat was sent to not look at the Earth and collect information about Earth, but these are few special missions that was to know about the universe, right? Astrosat is called as the first astronomy observatory in space of India, and it does a lot of observation about the universe, like the stars and the galaxies and all of that, and it keeps giving the data for our astronomers and astrophysicists. Chandrayaan 1 is the first mission to Moon. The goal was that this satellite goes to Moon by an orbit, like keep orbiting, but it had one particular part wherein they just dropped it. So it had to just go on and fall on the Moon. Okay. So it was called as Impact Probe, Moon Impact Probe, which was there, and the Chandrayaan, that was Chandrayaan 1 mission. Chandrayaan 1 is the mission to Moon. Chandra means moon, I think it's the same in Sri Lanka, right? Can anyone give me a thumbs up if it is yes? Chandra is, what do you call for moon? Does anyone want to put in the chat? Does anyone want to put, yes, Chandra. Do you call another name then? Right. So Chandrayaan mission was Chandraya. Okay, great. So this was a mission for Moon. And then comes Mangalyaan. Mangalyaan is a mission to Mars. So if this was a particular satellite that was launched from Earth, from India particularly, to send close to moon to orbit the to orbit the Mars planet. Okay, so this is a Mangalyaan mission, and we have Chandrayaan 2 as well. So if someone asked, ma'am, was there a rover that was launched? Yes, this you can see it was a Chandrayaan 2 mission where it had an orbiter, as in there was three parts in it. One was the orbiter; it was orbiting the moon always, and then second part was the lander. You see this particular one; it's called a lander. So it was supposed to go and land on the moon. Once it landed on the moon, there was a small rover. You can see here down. It was supposed to come outside and like go and walk, like go around the moon surface. But unfortunately, this was not completely successful. Okay, like orbiter was working, but the lander failed when it was about to land. So it didn't land properly. The rover did not go around, so we don't have enough data. So Chandrayaan 2 happened to be like that. So what are the future missions in the same outer space missions is that we have Chandrayaan 3. Okay, what do we have? We have Chandrayaan 3, we have Mangalyaan 2, and then we have Astrosat 2, which is coming up. Aditya L1, Aditya means sun. Okay, so there is a satellite that is being getting developed and all of it by ISRO, which is to send it to sun, close to the sun, and study about the sun. Okay, and then there is Shukrayaan. Shukrayaan means it's a mission to study Venus. So if you look at it, ISRO has sent already mission to moon and Mars. Now we are exploring sun and Venus as well. But again, continuing to know more about moon, Mars, and the whole outer space and all of it. And one of the collaboration between NASA and ISRO is called NICER project. Okay, it's by NASA and ISRO. They're working together on this project to work on the problems that we have, like, for example, our drastic climate change that we all are experiencing, right? Does anyone know what is a climate change problem? Can anyone give me a thumbs up if you know about it? Climate change. Does anyone know climate change? Good. I see John giving me a thumbs up. So climate change, if you all see, if there is supposed to be a summer, I'm guessing in Sri Lanka also the summer would be sometime in the month of April, May, right? April, May is when the summer would be. But what if it is too hot in the month of September? There is a change in the climate and it is not good because there were certain crops that were supposed to grow at that time and it is not growing. If it is supposed to rain in one particular rainy season, it is good. But if it rains throughout the year, again, it is going to create a loss in the country and all of it. So that climate change is a big problem, which has been addressed by this particular mission of ISRO and NASA together. It's called as NICER. There are a lot of collaboration. If you look at it, Chandrayaan 3, which I was telling you, is a collaboration between ISRO and Japan, as in JAXA. Okay, so like that, there are a lot of collaborations that keep happening. I wanted to let you all know about the different space agencies that we have. Different space agencies that we have in the whole world. Like, how many of you can identify different countries? For example, Singapore, right? And then Korea. Then Japan has its own government space agency called JAXA. India has ISRO. USA has NASA, right? And then the South Africa has SANSA. Like that, here UK has UK Space Agency. China has CNSA. France has CNES. Germany, this is Germany Space Agency. Like that, every country now has a space agency. Okay, like that, I'm guessing most of you know these at least, right? These are like little famous one. Russia's Roscosmos, NASA, ESA, ISRO, and Chinese Space Agency, JAXA. These are the countries or the space agencies which everyone usually know. But then there are new space agencies that are coming up. Philippines Space Agency, New Zealand Space Agency, UAE Space Agency, Luxembourg, Australian Space Agency. These are all the new space agencies that are being formed by the countries so that they also start their space program, like how India started, right? So every countries want to have their own space agencies. But if you want to just know, there are so many companies, more than government bodies, government organizations. There are so many companies, like 10,000, and all are like space related. For example, you can see there are a few companies related to space medicine, space travel and exploration, spacecraft development, data solution, AI solution, remote sensing, 5G communication, right? And then satellite communication, satellite manufacturing, navigation and mapping. You see how many companies are here. We will have to zoom in to know which all are those companies, right? And then you can see space education and training. One like what we do falls under here, right? So these are all the companies that are there, and everyone is working in this whole space domain. In India, these are few of the old space related companies, like who help and work together, like HAL, Rubber Products, Vajra Rubber Products, L&T, Godrej Aerospace, Tata, and then Premier Explosives Limited. These are the different old companies, I could say. At the same time, there are a lot of new startups. Remember, I was telling you I wanted to talk about startups, right? So these are few startups. Again, let me ask this question. Does anyone know any startup which is mentioned here? You can give me a thumbs up. Does anyone know any startup like you had heard of before? These are all, when I say startup, it's a company, it's a private company. Okay, students, it's a private company started by people like you and me, common people, like your IOAS itself. Yeah. So these are the different startups that are there in India, which is working in the space domain. For example, Skyroot, Agnikul, Bellatrix, they are into building rockets. Then Dhruva Space, Pixel, Graha Space, Galaxite, they are into building satellites. And then SatSure, and then there are different companies who are doing different things. Recently, they said there are more than 100 space-related companies in India. Okay, so a lot of them have started their entrepreneurial life and started their own company. We'll just like take a look at few of the examples. So this is Skyroot's rocket. It's called Vikram. Okay, this is developed by not ISRO, not the government, but a private company in India. Then there is this Agnikul's Agniban. It's called as Agniban, this rocket. And then there is another rocket by Bellatrix. There are so many other companies right now which want to build their own rocket and launch other satellites and all of that. At the same time, these are few companies which are building the satellite. Like I said, Pixel launched or want to launch this satellite. Then there is Dhruva Space. This is their satellite. Diganta, this is their satellite. So there are a lot of new startups which want to start a company or have already started. Like these are all companies that are started to design and build their own satellites and launch it. Okay. So just gonna give you a few examples of this company. For example, this company called Astrom provides satellite internet. I hope all of you know what is internet. Like today, you have all joined on this call because of internet. But for example, if something happens to your tower, network goes off. So instead of, depending on the towers, this particular company is working on putting a satellite in the space which acts itself as a tower. And you can use the internet directly from space. There is nothing that can obstruct and all of that. Okay. And then SatSure. This is a company. One of you asked, how do we use satellite data for agriculture and all of it. Like this particular company uses the satellite data, particularly telling, okay, this particular land has this much water content in it. This particular land or uh, areas, weather over there usually is like the temperature is this much, all right, and then this particular area soil has these nutrients. So having all these things, this particular area, you should grow a particular crop. For example, if you were growing rice, now they say instead of rice, you have to grow this because it will give you more profit because your land is suitable for that. So that's how they help the farmers and agriculture, the crops and all of it. And this is again one of my favorite company, which again you all might like it. It's called Numerate, and she is the founder, where they give fishermen an information on their app telling, go to this exact location in the water because you'll find more fishes over there. Otherwise, usually fishermen take a boat and they simply keep going. Whenever they see a fish, they put a net and then they take. But here, through this particular application or information of space data, it says, go to this exact location, like navigate, just like how we have a Google Maps. On the water, go to this direction, this much far. It will show and you go there and you can like catch more fishes. If you catch more fishes, then you sell more fishes, then you get more money, right? So that's how this particular company works. And I'm at my last slide. One of you again asked, do you work at ISRO or for ISRO? This is my answer. I don't work at ISRO. I would have loved to work over there, but no, I'm the co-founder of Genex Space, and we create educational content for ISRO. Okay, this picture was taken when we delivered the content for a program called Yuvika for students. Okay, this was at that point of time. So we create educational content for ISRO, and that's how we work with ISRO, and ISRO supports us in most of the program. Like how I'm giving a talk here, when we do program, ISRO will join us, right? So like that's a collaboration between us and ISRO, and we are also the space tutors of ISRO. The responsibility of space tutor is to tell everything that an ISRO does and tell about ISRO, tell the opportunities, tell the missions, tell the programs of ISRO to everyone. So again, that's how I'm very happy to again say everything that ISRO is doing to all of you. That comes to an end. Thank you very much. Did I finish it early? I think I finished it too early, but I would be happy to take any questions if you all have. And then if there is still more time, I can talk about something else as well, but about space. So you can start putting chat and I'll take them. Probably later they would let you all unmute and speak as well. So there was a set of questions. Let me take it. Okay, there's a question called India's current rocket technology has made great strides when compared to the rockets produced by other global organizations. How much space is there for India's rockets to reach the planet's Mars, and how long will it take? Actually, I didn't get your question. Do you want to like explain me what your question was? Your name is Manjit, right? Manjit, if you want to rephrase your question and post it, I would be happy to answer because I did not understand your question there. Then there is another question, will an Indian man set foot on the moon? Well, my answer is it might be possible in the future, not today, not this year, not next year, not next 5 years, but for sure sometime in the future, because ISRO can do it. ISRO has done a lot of things that was challenging. That was first time, for example, sending a satellite to Mars was so challenging. Like all the other countries, whoever have launched satellites to Mars, they tried first time and then they were unsuccessful. They were tried second time, third time, fourth time. They tried so many times to become successful mission that ISRO did it in the first go. Literally in the first go, it was successful, right? And the way ISRO is working and all of it, I'm guessing it will happen, but it might take time. Yeah. Then there's another question. What is the role of satellites in geosciences? In fact, Ahmad, let me tell you, the whole satellites came into picture because of geosciences. In the year 1957-58, it was called the year of geoscience. And for that year of geoscience, Russia wanted to launch satellites. That's when the whole space industry came into existence. Okay, the Sputnik was launched in the same year, in that 1957-58. US launched its first satellite Explorer, which is again in the year of geosciences. That's when it literally started off. Okay, so what is the role of satellites in geosciences? It can help us know what is the Earth made up of, what does this particular area contain, and which is, like as I said, in agriculture, to know about the water bodies. Where is the water getting depleted? Where is forest depletion happening because of cutting the trees? All of this can be found with the help of satellites. So yeah, that's my answer to you, Ahmed. Then there's another question. Do your company don't hope to make a visit to a rocket launching stations with students? We do that. In fact, we recently took around 30 to 40 students to this spaceport where the rockets get launched, and there is another launch happening in the coming week. We don't know if we would be able to go, but we usually go. We usually go whenever they launch the rocket. And it's a really wonderful experience. I'm guessing you all must, has anyone seen, because like I was showing you where the launch pad is and where Sri Lanka is. Has anyone seen anything whenever ISRO launches rocket from Sri Lanka? Again, like give me a thumbs up or some emoji, some reactions. Has anyone seen whenever ISRO launches a rocket, like some kind of light or parts probably going through or something? Mohammed Shamil, have you seen? Because your reactions. Okay, Ahmad Ali also has seen. Okay, that's good. So you can actually see. Mostly if you're on the north part of Sri Lanka, I think you should be able to see because it's very close to that location. Then there is another question. What is the role of satellite in the field of, I think I just answered. Can you tell us more about Artemis mission, moon to Mars? All right, so Artemis mission is a mission by NASA. It's a program by NASA. Now, what Artemis mission is all about is that they don't say go back to moon, okay? Because have you all heard of Apollo missions? Give me a thumbs up again, everyone. Have you all heard of Apollo mission? Landing on the moon? Who landed the moon on the moon, like Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong? Yes, you all have heard. So those were called as Apollo missions, and this was achieved 50 years back. 50 years, more than 50 years back is when NASA sent humans as an astronauts to moon. They landed, they walked, they did a lot of experiments, and then they came back to Earth. But after those set of around 6 times they went to moon, after that they did not go. They did not go for almost like 45 years or something, or 40 years. But now they want to go back. They want to go back to moon and do the experiments out there. And they just don't want NASA to go, but they have started collaborating with so many other space agencies so that they all can, like, do experiments together and all of it. So Artemis mission is to go back to moon, and they say one more thing. They want to take a woman to the moon, because when Apollo missions happened 6 times, they went. Every time they only took man. There were 12 men who landed on the moon, none of the women. So this time the Artemis mission is to take a woman on the moon. So that's about Artemis mission. Then there's another question. Dinesha, when did ISRO get established? I just started with that. It was started in 1962. Okay. Then India, there's another question by SRI. India doesn't have a plan to go to moon, and we do have. I said Chandrayaan 1 we did, Chandrayaan 2 we did. Now ISRO is planning for Chandrayaan 3. It is going to take few years, but we will have Chandrayaan 3, which means we're going to go back to moon again, try for landing. Okay, no human mission, but it's just going to be like a landing mission. There's a message from Afra. Is there a space junk above India? And if there is, what are the future plans to clear them up? Such an amazing question. I'm not sure if space junk is exactly above India, but there is space junk, and it is very, very, very problematic for other set of satellites, because space junk is just like waste. For example, you have a satellite that is orbiting, and then there is a lot of small parts. It might get hit and it might destroy your satellite. So space junk, space debris is a problem. There are a lot of startups. Again, there's one startup in India which is trying to solve that space debris problem. Okay. Does India has 5G? If yes, can you give me some? Can you give me some names of satellites that give 5G signals? I'm Dinuga. Dinuga, recently there was a huge news in India telling 5G is launched. Okay, so which particular satellite I am not aware of, but then there are a lot of satellites that are getting launched, and I'm guessing with the 5G starting, there would be more and more satellites that would be launched to provide this 5G network. There is a question, how can we join with ISRO as teen students? Teen students, there is no program as of now, but ISRO is going to launch some new programs probably in the future, which you can join. But otherwise, if you are in college, like in the university, then you must think of applying for Unnati, because around 30 students they take every year from different countries, like two students from every country. So you must apply from Sri Lanka if any one of you are here, or once you grow up, do not forget to apply and like learn how to build a satellite from ISRO scientists itself. Has any rover landed on Mars? Fatima, there are so many rovers on the Mars already, and most of them are launched by US, Russia, and then even China. Okay, so there are rovers that are already on Mars, running, collecting the information, and keep on sending us the information from Mars. So yes. Does India plan to send a rover on a Mars? Probably it is in their plan. We don't know. They might do it in the future. Have any Indian gone to space by launching vehicles made by India? No, that's what Natari, if I'm pronouncing it right. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. So we have sent one Indian to space. His name is Rakesh Sharma. but he did not go from India. He was taken to Russia, and he was trained in Russia, and he was sent in a Russian rocket to space. Okay, he person I could say from India who has gone to space. And right now, as I said, the Gaganyaan mission is about that they want to take the next set of Indians to space from India itself in an Indian rocket. Okay, there are a lot of women though. We have Kalpana Chawla, we have Sunita Williams. Recently, there was another woman called Sirisha Bandla. They're all again someone who went to space, but they went to US, they got US citizenship, and then they went to space. So when they went to space, they were not Indians, but they were from India. Okay. For example, in the future, one of you want to go to space, you come to India, and there would be a rule in India telling you should be an Indian. So you should be in India for several years. You should get an Indian citizenship, only then you would be sent. But Sri Lanka would not consider or something. At the same time, there would be few people who would be so happy. Oh no, that person is from Sri Lanka, right? So that's what is the case. There's another question by Nemindi. What is the secret? What is the secret of NASA going back to moon? Why are they going back? Why are they going to the North Pole of the moon? Well, I don't know what is the secret. Okay, I don't know what is the secret for them to go back to the moon, but I clearly said they want to go and start doing the research to live on moon, and they're not going to North Pole, but they're going to the South Pole of the moon. Okay, I hope I answered you. Then there's another question by Dinesha. Can you say, okay, just give me a second, I'm trying to. Can you say why people after Neil Armstrong and crew did not went to moon? Like, can you explain this? Dinuga, so why they didn't go, I think the focus shifted on some other things, is what I think. But I think it's a good question for me to think as well, or to find an answer. Why didn't they go back? I don't know. I should find it. But I want to let you know that Neil Armstrong was the first set of people. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. These two people went for the first time. After him, 5 more set of people went, as in 5 into 2. 10 people went after Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin. But after that 6th trip, they stopped. Okay. Then there is another question. Some are telling that Apollo mission is a fake question. Is it correct? Okay. According to me, they are not fake. But I don't know. They come up with a lot of answers for it being fake. But I believe it is not fake. Then there's another question. Have ISRO plans regarding saving ozone layer? I think ozone layer is getting better by itself. At the same time, we are taking a lot of precautionary measures here on Earth, right? Like we should reduce the carbon footprint. We should reduce the harmful radiations that we are like emitting back to the atmosphere. We all as the world should work on it. I'm guessing then there would be no problem of ozone layer. How can I join with like visits like us? Probably Institute of Astronomy plan that as well. Whenever there is next mission, you all can make a trip to India and come and see the launch, and I can help you. Yeah. Then where are the space satellite network satellites are? Oh, wait, 1 second. Where are the space satellite network satellites located? They're all in space. Now, satellites, when we launch a satellite, they're all not at one height, but they're at different height based on different application. For example, if you want for communication, it is kept at a certain height. If you want to navigate, it is kept at a certain height. So they're all at a different location. There are certain satellites which work individually. Like, for example, there's one satellite, it will do its work. But then there are another set of satellites, like, for example, our communication satellite, navigation satellite, they all work in a group, like a set of 7 satellites in navigation satellite. For our GPS, we use 24 satellites. It's all connection, group of satellites working together. They coordinate with each other and work. Is there any plans by India to send satellites or rovers to the outer solar system? As an outer solar system, I'm not sure. Right now, we've gone from the Earth to Mars, and now we're focusing on Venus and Sun. So probably there might be a plan in the future. I am not aware of that. US landed on moon 6 times. Yes, you're right. What do the astronauts do in ISS? That's again a very good question. Astronauts do a lot of experiments on ISS where there is microgravity, like as in there is less. Here on Earth, the way we do experiments, the results that we get is different. At the same time, when you go to space, the experiments, when you do, the results that you get is different. So when you want to know what would happen for certain things when there is no gravity, all those experiments are done in space, in ISS, by astronauts. And then, how can I be astrobiologist? That's a very good question. How many of you know what is astrobiology? Can everyone like give me a reaction if you know? Yes, astrobiology. Because if I have to answer this, I need to know how many of you know or how many of you don't know. Accordingly, I want to answer. That's why. Okay. So astrobiology, how can you become an astrobiologist? First, you need to be very good in biology, like the life here on Earth, right? Like what are the different forms of, like, for example, there are plants, there are animals, there are human beings. So you got to be very good in the biology and then study the space aspect of it. For example, is there any plant that you can grow on different planet like Mars? That's astrobiology. Okay. For example, can we go and live on Moon or Mars? What effect would it be there on us, humans? Astrobiology. So you got to be like study biology first and then apply the space knowledge, is how you can go ahead with astrobiology. And then, was India involved in building ISS? Nope. I don't know astrobiology, I'm doing biology for, okay, that's good. Then can I be astrobiologist? You gotta like do your degree, and then there are a lot of studies, a lot of degrees called in astrobiology itself. You might have to do those. Okay. Okay. I hope I've answered all the questions that was there over here. Does anyone else have any questions about anything related to space? And if I know them, then I would be happy to answer. Ahmad has raised hand. Ahmad, you have a question? Do you want to ask? Probably if you want to put it in the chat, or Banuka, can they unmute themselves and ask the question? Ahmad, probably you can put it in the chat and I will answer. Anyone with any questions? I wanted to know if you all understood what we discussed today. Can you all like give me a thumbs up if you all understood and liked the session about ISRO, about space, about all the programs that is happening in India, all the space programs that are happening in India. Okay, that's a good number. Good. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to put it here. Or if you want to speak, I'm not sure. Ahmed, do you have a question? Let me see. Okay, I've asked you to unmute. Do you want to ask a question?
Basically, I have a question like, I'm from a biology background, so do I have a chance to work in any space related field? I'm from life sciences background.
Right. So if you are already in biology background, then there are a lot of opportunities. You should look for if there is any space related company which is working on this astrobiology, and try to like do an internship with them, show your passion, and then get a job over there so that you can like learn and do a lot in this astrobiology. Or like even you can take up some project by yourself, like set of your friends. For example, astrobiology, I said there are different things in astrobiology. Okay, be it growing crops in space. Like let's say if you have to go to moon and Mars and have to eat food, then you need to think of different ways of growing crops. So that again comes under biology, like astrobiology. So you gotta like think what is that you want to do. Before that, see all the different opportunities, then you can like take it up from there. But yes, if you have a biology background, then you are so much needed for astrobiology background, astrobiology related projects and all of those.
Yes, ma'am.
I think Dinuga has a question, so I'll let you unmute.
Excuse me, teacher. I wanted to know, like, what happened to Beetlejuice star that it was said to go supernova. Like, I just wanted to know how many years or time it will take to see the light, even a pinch of light.
Dinuga, I am so sorry. I might not be able to answer that question because I don't have much knowledge on astrophysics part of it. But I'm guessing your instructors at Institute of Astronomy, Sri Lanka, would be the right people to answer. They would be able to give you the answer. Banu, would you like to answer that? Or I think Dinuga, you can get an answer from them later as well. But I'm so sorry, I can't give you the answer for that question.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. But you asked me a lot of questions. That is very good, huh? Which grade are you in?
Grade 9.
Very good, Dinuga. All the best. Does anyone else have any questions, students? Anyone else with any questions? Feel free to ask. If there is no question, then I want to hand it over to Banuka.
Okay. It's a great lecture and fully covered the topic, and I also and I think our listeners got a clear idea about the Indian space exploration. We all know the India playing a major role in aerospace industry and the geopolitical aspects in Asia. Science and technological movements of the India is important to the nearby countries. And thank you very much for accepting our invitation, Nikita. And we hope to do more collaborative projects with your society for space education and research. And also, I think our participants via Zoom, YouTube, and Facebook. And thank you all. We are now in the session. We hope to bring another valuable session for the future. And thank you all.
Thank you very much, Banu. And for everyone who joined, thank you very much.
Thank you, teacher. Have a nice day, teacher.
Thank you.